Hello and welcome to Cinema Explorer. I'm Moksh.
And I'm Muskan.
And today we'll review one of the most anticipated films of the year, The Batman. In this film, Batman has been fighting crime in Gotham City for almost 2 years, but when he faces the challenge of Riddler, he uncovers corruption in Gotham City which is connected to his own family.
It was our most anticipated film of this year, and what a delight it was to watch in the theatres. Directed by Matt Reeves, the film stars Robert Pattinson as Batman, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Colin Farell as Penguin, and Paul Dano as the Riddler.
After watching numerous Batman films over the years, we were really excited to see what Matt Reeves will bring to this comic book superhero series. We had seen Tim Burton's comical and fantastical films, Nolan's action-packed Dark Knight trilogy, and I don't know what Joel Schumacher did, but here Matt Reeves makes a crime noir. Here, Batman is not only a superhero but also a detective who is solving riddles to find the Riddler.
The film is inspired from 70s style film noir like Chinatown and Taxi Driver and some other films like Seven and Zodiac. That is why it has a very Fincheresque feel to it. Just like Seven, it is a detective noir set in a very bleak city brimming with criminal activities, and it also has a buddy cop duo of Batman and Jim Gordon who are trying to solve the clues left after every murder. We see Paul Dano as a serial killer who communicates via ciphers, which is very similar to the Zodiac killer.
Based on all these films, Matt Reeves presents a very distinctive style of Batman which has not been shown anywhere before, and he shows Batman through a completely different angle. So let's see how well it works.
Firstly, let's talk about the best part of the film, that is its brilliant cinematography. The visuals are so stunning that they will just take your breath away. Greig Fraser is a brilliant cinematographer who has just mastered the art of creating masterpieces using very limited color palette. In Dune, he creates a visually stunning world with the use of earthy browns and greys, and even in Batman, he creates a beautiful world using colors of red, blacks and yellows.
The lighting is very much inspired by film noir. We see the use of low-key lighting, split lighting on faces to show the duality of character, and masterful use of shadows to create a very dynamic images and dynamic shots on screen, as well as creating a unique atmosphere. Along with this, he also uses a lot of close-up shots of Batman and Bruce Wayne to show their emotional arc throughout the film. It is definitely going to be part of our top 10 cinematographies of 2022, and it all comes down to the use of various angles, the composition of some of the shots, and there is one particular scene towards the end when he uses only red lighting and an overhead shot, and that is just too beautiful to look at.
I think that is one scene that will just stay with us even long after the film is over.
And one thing is, if you see it on the big screen, you just fall in love with Greig Fraser all over again. Since Batman has released very close to the voting period for the Oscars, the chances of Greig Fraser winning an Oscar for Dune has increased very much, and I think we can expect him to win now.
Now let's talk about the second best thing about the film, that is Robert Pattinson as Batman. We absolutely loved his performance and he was just so amazing. I think the role was so well suited for him, even his face cut and the body, his build, everything was just so perfectly suited for him.
And he worked really hard for it, and it showed. And it showed how good a Batman he can be if they continue with the franchise here.
I think he has a lot of potential as the Batman, and I would love to see what he does with this role. And I think one thing that is very different in this film is that he is not only facing a very external conflict but also a very serious internalized one, as the truth is revealed that completely shatters his family perception and whatever he stands for.
And I think this revelation lends a character arc to Bruce Wayne and Batman seen in no other film. We see the fall of Bruce Wayne and the rise of Batman. He has been working as a mass vigilante for almost 2 years, and almost all of the criminals are scared of him even when he is not there. But the people do not see him as a savior yet.
And I think that is what this film is all about. It is trying to establish him as a savior of the city rather than just a vigilante.
And how people of Gotham build their trust in Batman.
I think he appears as Batman for the most of the part of the film and not as Bruce Wayne. And even as Bruce Wayne, his portrayal is very different to all the other Bruce Waynes we have seen over the years. He is not as charming as Christian Bale, but he is very sad and gloomy throughout the film.
I don't think I even saw him smile once in the film. He's a nocturnal animal walking around the crime scenes, walking in the city, and that is very different from any other Batman film. And according to us, that is the one thing that works really well.
No superhero is complete without an equally menacing and intimidating villain, and we got that in the form of Riddler here. He is the main antagonist here, and he doesn't even need a brightly colored question mark suit to show how intellectual and how menacing he is. His entire personality is clearly shown by the way how simple he looks and the way he acts. His heavy breathing, his simple persona, and his dark and twisted ways in which he challenges the Batman. I think Paul Dano has done an amazing job here because he's everything that Jim Carrey could have been.
In Batman Forever, Jim Carrey was very over the top and had a very humorous take on the Riddler. But here, Paul Dano has a very grounded and a very dark take on Riddler, and that is something that works really well. Coming to Penguin, played by an unrecognizable and a brilliant Colin Farrell, while looking at the trailers, we thought he's very menacing, he's going to be really strong. But here, he was very funny in some of the scenes and in a good way. I think what he did in the film was very much important. And I would love to see Penguin in a second part if they make Batman 2. And I love Colin Farrell and I loved his performance here.
I think the most thrilling sequence in the film was between Batman and Penguin, and I would love to rewatch that scene all over again.
Another very important character in any Batman film is that of Jim Gordon. Here, Jeffrey Wright plays Jim Gordon and he does so very impressively. He's solving the crime along with Batman. When we compare his character to that of Jim Gordon played by Gary Oldman was very charming, but here Jeffrey Wright is very intellectual and very serious, and that is something the film demands.
And I think the way Jim Gordon was portrayed in this film, his importance will eventually rise in all the other films, I guess, in this franchise, and that would be very interesting to see. Another brilliant performance in the film is by Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. She is strong and fierce, and her chemistry with Batman is just amazing in this film. Although compared to other films, she is not quite a villain here and she is kind of a hero, but that really worked really well because Zoe Kravitz just did it brilliantly. Coming to Alfred, who is just a darling in all of the Batman films, but here he was just a bit of a dud, I guess.
I think he was not as charming as Michael Caine was in the films or the other Alfred, and I just didn't like him that much. He was not really someone who you could just love by looking at them, and also his screen time was very less.
Yeah, even the kind of role he got in this one was so different than all the other Alfred roles. So yeah, it didn't just kind of work for us.
Kind of didn't connect with this, I could say. The score by Michael Giacchino is just goddamn brilliant. It's so unique, it's haunting, it's chilling, and it suits the overall atmosphere that the film tries to create.
I think the experience is elevated by the brilliant sound design as well. Whenever Batman is approaching towards you in any scene, there is a loud thumping of his footsteps, and that I think elevates the kind of personality he has, the kind of person he is, the kind of importance he has in the film.
Yeah, that clearly shows the stature of Batman, and everything they did in terms of music, in terms of sound, it suits the overall tone of the film. So that was really brilliantly done.
Now let's talk about some of the underwhelming aspects of the film, which quite didn't work for us, I think.
Yeah, I think the first thing which I could say, the film starts off at a very slow pace. The first 30 minutes are really great in terms of filmmaking, but since there are not very much dialogues there and the way it goes about, it's very different from any other superhero film and people can find it to be a little too slow.
Yeah, I think that is also because they are not rating it as a superhero film per se. It is a film noir. So that's why the setup was a little slow, I guess. But still, it was a pretty brilliant movie in terms of filmmaking.
Also, another thing which we found to be a little bit troubling was the film falters in the third act. You don't exactly know where the film will go.
I think that creates a little bit of a tonal mismatch in the film. In the last act, we are not expecting where the film is going.
Yeah.
Because it is so different from all the other Batman films we have watched.
Even though the ending of the film, it was really well done, but it somehow left me a little unsatisfied in a way I cannot explain. So that is another thing that irks me. But overall, the film justifies its existence, why a particular Batman film should exist when there are so many Batman films made over the year, because it is very different. A crime noir that is so unique in its pitch and the way it portrays the characters, it's actually really well done.
I think everything is so well done in the film. The music, the characters, the performances, the cinematography, which cannot go without praising again and again. Matt Reeves has the stomach to give us another brilliant Batman trilogy. I think there is a great potential in Matt Reeves as a director for this franchise and for Robert Pattinson as Batman. Our overall rating for the film is 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I think it might even increase when we rewatch it again because that happened with Dune.
I think it might actually increase.
Yeah, but for now it is 4.5 out of 5 stars, and we are just thrilled to see what this franchise has to offer in the future. If you get a chance to experience this cinematic brilliance in theatres, just don't miss it and go for it. Let us know your thoughts on this film in the comments below.
And don't forget to like and subscribe and support this channel. And is Robert Pattinson your favorite Batman?